The first time my mother called me ugly, I was 7 years old and wearing a tiny blue suit that scratched the back of my neck. It happened at my cousin's wedding. My younger brother Nolan stood beside me with perfectly combed blonde hair and one of those smiles adults automatically trusted. My mother adjusted his bow tie, then looked at me and sighed. "Stand toward the back, Easton," she whispered. "Your brother photographs better." She said it gently. That's the dangerous kind. Because when cruelty sounds polite, everybody around you learns to accept it. A few people chuckled softly. My father did too. I smiled anyway. That became my specialty. Smiling while something quietly broke. By 13, I understood the structure of my family better than most adults understood corporate politics. Nolan was the centerpiece. I was the supporting furniture. He got compliments. I got responsibilities. Easton's reliable. Easton's smart, thankfully. That last one always came with a weird little pause. Thankfully. Like intelligence was compensation for appearance. My father, Gregory Vale, loved making jokes about it. Kids built like a retired boxer, he'd laugh at barbecues. Or my personal favorite. Good thing he inherited brains, huh? Everybody always laughed harder than necessary. That's the thing about family humiliation. It's rarely loud enough to call abuse. It's death by 1,000 small permissions. You start shrinking without noticing. Learn how to make yourself useful enough that people tolerate your presence. By the time I turned 33, I'd mastered it. I worked as an operations manager for a commercial construction company in Chicago. Long hours. Quiet life. Predictable routine. Honestly, I preferred work over family. At work, effort mattered. At home, appearance always won. Nolan became exactly the kind of man our parents rewarded. Smooth. Charming. Loud confidence covering average intelligence like expensive wrapping paper. The worst part? I didn't even hate him. Resentment and understanding can live in the same room. Still didn't make it hurt less. Especially at family gatherings. 3 months before everything exploded, my mother hosted a birthday dinner for my father at an upscale steakhouse downtown. The second I sat down, my father smirked. "Well," he said, lifting his bourbon glass, "at least one son cleaned up nice tonight." Nolan grinned immediately. And me? I just nodded like, sure, whatever. Because reacting only entertained them. After dinner, I walked along the river with my best friend Mara. "You know what bothers me most?" she asked. "That my family's emotionally allergic to kindness?" "No," she said quietly. "It's that you still keep showing up hoping they'll become different people." A month later, my Aunt Celeste organized a huge family reunion at her lake house in Wisconsin. I almost skipped it. Should have trusted that instinct too. The reunion started exactly how these things always started. Nolan arrived late in a black Porsche wearing sunglasses like he was entering an action movie instead of a cookout. My mother nearly lit up. "There's my handsome boy." Then she looked at me unloading folding chairs from my truck. "Easton, honey, can you help set everything up?" Of course. By noon, the comments started rolling in. "You'd look so much better with cosmetic work. You know confidence really changes a man's appearance." My aunt actually pinched my cheek and said, "Such a shame. He was sweet-looking as a little kid." Sweet-looking. Past tense. Mara came with me that afternoon and heard enough to finally lose patience. "You know these people are insane, right?" she muttered while helping me carry drinks inside. "I'm aware." Around sunset, while everybody gathered near the dock, I noticed an older man standing alone near the patio doors watching me carefully. Tall. Gray-haired. Navy sweater despite the heat. There was something oddly familiar about him. Aunt Celeste approached him first, then pointed toward me. The man walked over slowly. "You're Easton?" His voice was controlled. Professional. Calm. "Depends," I said. "Am I in trouble?" A faint smile crossed his face. "No. Probably the opposite." He introduced himself as Vincent Hale. Then he asked if we could speak privately. We sat near the edge of the lake while family laughter echoed behind us. "I knew your mother before she married Gregory," he said carefully. My stomach tightened instantly. "She and I were engaged." I stared at him. "She was pregnant at the time," he said softly. Everything inside me went still. Vincent reached into a folder beside him. Old photographs. Letters. One photo stopped me cold. Vincent at maybe 30 standing beside my mother outside a diner somewhere. And there it was. My face. Same eyes. Same heavy brow. Same crooked smile. "Jesus Christ. You see it," he said quietly. Suddenly every joke from my childhood rearranged itself. Every weird look. Every cruel little comment. Vincent explained everything carefully. My mother got pregnant during a rough period between them. Then Vincent's work transferred him overseas temporarily. Communication collapsed. My grandparents pushed her toward Gregory because he came from money and stability. Gregory agreed to marry her. And judging by my childhood, I'd spent decades paying for it. "I found out about you 2 months ago," Vincent admitted quietly. "Why come now?" "Because I'm sick," he said simply. Stage 3 lymphoma. Treatable, but serious enough to make him stop postponing truth. "I came because you deserve to know who you are." 3 days later, the DNA test confirmed everything. Vincent Hale was my biological father. Gregory knew the entire time. That part almost broke me. Not the lie. The years. I invited my mother to my apartment the next evening. She walked in already crying. That told me enough immediately. "You knew," I said quietly. She covered her mouth. "Easton. You let him do it." "No. You let him spend my entire childhood making me feel unwanted because I reminded him you loved someone else first." That landed hard. My mother sat down like her legs stopped working. "He said he could handle it," she whispered. "He promised he'd raise you as his own." I laughed once. "Yeah," I said. "Fantastic job." Then came the part nobody expected. Vincent Hale wasn't retired. He owned Hale Urban Development. Massive commercial projects across the Midwest. And coincidentally, Nolan had spent the last 6 months desperately trying to secure a partnership with Hale's company through his real estate firm. Life's timing can get almost disrespectful sometimes. I didn't weaponize the information. Didn't need to. Because arrogant people usually destroy themselves once pressure enters the room. 2 weeks later, Hale Urban hosted a charity gala in Chicago. Nolan practically treated it like a career-making opportunity. Custom tuxedo. Perfect hair. Endless rehearsed confidence. My parents attended too. Then Vincent arrived. And the room shifted immediately. Nolan approached first with that polished salesman smile. "Mr. Hale," he said confidently. "I've been looking forward to finally meeting you." Vincent shook his hand politely. Then his eyes moved past him. Toward me. Everything slowed. "There you are," Vincent said warmly. "I was wondering where my son disappeared to." Silence. My mother looked physically ill. Nolan blinked like his brain lost signal. Gregory's face drained of color. And for the first time in my entire life, nobody in that room was looking at me like the lesser son. Vincent stepped beside me calmly. "This is Easton Hale. Not Easton Vale." Not Gregory's mistake. Easton Hale. The room changed instantly after that. People who ignored me earlier suddenly wanted conversations. Funny how respect appears once status enters the equation. Gregory cornered me near the bar later that night. "You think this makes you special now?" he hissed. I looked at him for a long moment. Smaller than I remembered. "That's the thing," I said quietly. "I always was." That shut him up completely. The fallout came fast after that. Hale Urban backed away from Nolan's firm after discovering inflated client numbers in several presentations. Nothing criminal. Just enough dishonesty to kill trust. His own arrogance buried him. Meanwhile, Vincent asked me to join one of his redevelopment projects in Milwaukee. Not because we shared DNA. Because he respected how I handled operations and people. That mattered more than inheritance ever could. A month later, my mother visited me again. No excuses this time. Just regret. "I should have protected you," she whispered. Yeah. She should have. But strangely, I didn't need revenge anymore. Because the truth had already done the work. "I spent my whole life thinking something was wrong with my face," I told her softly. "Turns out I was just standing in rooms full of people who needed someone to diminish." She cried quietly after that. And for the first time, I didn't feel angry watching her. Just lighter. A few nights ago, Vincent and I grabbed dinner after reviewing one of the redevelopment sites downtown. At one point he studied me across the table and smiled faintly. "You know," he said, "you look exactly like my father." I laughed softly. "Yeah. Strong," he said. "Steady. Hard to intimidate. Funny. My entire life people called me ugly. But sitting there across from him, hearing someone describe me with respect instead of ridicule, I finally understood something. The ugliest thing in that family was never my face.